Recording in progress.
Phylum Porifera by Alli Mitchell
and Katie Louder.
Sponges are the oldest animal group, and their fossils date back 600 to 800 million years. It is hard to know exactly how old fossils are because they have poor fossil preservation. There are over 8,000 species of sponges currently recognized, and these species live both in saltwater and freshwater habitats. They come in various shapes, sizes, and colors, and they can be as small as a few millimeters to as large as several meters.
Some of the many features of sponges is that they are asymmetrical, they are immobile after the first few stages of life after they attach to something, they are organized as a collection of different specialized cells, they have no tissues, and they have a skeleton lacking or made of spicules. Some of the characteristics of sponges are multicellular, but they do not have tissues or organs. They are made of a porous network called mesohyl, which is composed of various cell types. This network contains specialized cells called choanocytes that have collar-like structures surrounding a flagellum. These generate water currents and filter small particles for the sponge to feed on. The outer layer of a sponge is the pinacoderm. The inner layer is the choanoderm. The body is covered by a skin that is one cell thick and has lots of small pores that serve as entrances to a complex system of channels. These channels lead to inner chambers lined with feeding cells called collar cells. Each collar cell has a flagellum surrounded by a ring-like collar. The beating of the flagellum draws water through where the particles are caught and carried down the body of the cell to be digested. The collar cells pump water throughout the sponge and filter out food for the sponge cells to eat. They obtain nutrients and oxygen from water and release waste products from the same channels. The body of the sponge has about 6 different types of specialized cells. Some of these cells make a supporting skeleton of either collagen fibers or of tiny, sharp mineral pieces called spicules. Others carry out growth, repair, nourishment, or reproduction.
Sponges are one of the oldest known animal groups, and they date back to Cambrian times, which is 541 to 485 million years ago, or as early as Precambrian times, which are as early as 760 million years ago. But due to their poor fossil preservation, a lot about their history is unknown. And the split between sponges and other animal groups, it was a key event on early history and life. The oldest known fossil sponge dates back 600 million years. Over these hundreds of millions of years, sponges have gone through a lot of evolutionary adaptations. The first is cellular plasticity, which allows them to adapt their body structure and function in response to changing environmental conditions. The next is porous body structure, as the sponges have numerous openings that allow for water to flow through their bodies. This facilitates filter feeding, exchange of nutrients, gases, and waste production. Next, they have a water circulation system, which works hand in hand with the porous body structure. Their water circulation system is driven by the beating of flagella, and when body flows through internal canals and exits through the osculum. This process facilitates filter feeding, gas exchange, waste removal, and larva dispensal during reproduction. Next, they form symbiotic associations, as some sponges form mutualistic relationships with other organisms and can host them to live inside their skeletons. They've also had adaptations in their spicules and spongin to produce structural elements over time. And finally, they developed chemical defenses as they produce a range of bioactive compounds, including toxins and secondary metabolites, as a part of their chemical defense mechanism to deter predators and inhibit the growth of competing organisms.
Sponges are significant and they hold a lot of importance in various marine, freshwater, and saltwater ecosystems. Sponges provide shelter for a range of organisms. Their complex body structure includes crevices, canals, and cavities to offer refuge and attachment sites for numerous invertebrates, small fish, and other microorganisms. They create biodiversity hotspots that support high species richness, contributing to biodiversity and functioning of ecosystems. The next is going to be nutrient cycling, which is a vital role in organic matter turnover in aquatic ecosystems. Through filter feeding, they extract organic particles and debris from the water column, and this helps with recycling nutrients and energy flow. It effectively removes suspended particles, bacteria, and organic matter from the water. The next is carbon sink. They contribute to carbon sequestration in marine environments. They dissolve organic carbon and convert it into biomass, and this aids in the transfer and storage of carbon within the ecosystem. And the final is going to be chemical ecology. Sponges produce a wide variety of bioactive compounds, including secondary metabolites with antimicrobial, antifouling, and pharmaceutical properties. They influence the community structure, interactions, and chemical ecology of the surrounding environment.
Next, there are 3 important subgroups of sponges to know about. The first is calcareous sponges, which are smaller in size and less colorful than other sponge classes, and they range from between a few centimeters to a few tens of centimeters in height. They have spicules made of magnesium calcite or may lack spicules, and the most common spicule shape is triactines with 3-pointed spires, as seen in the picture. And then they're characterized by a calcareous octine spicule type that looks like little snowflakes with 6 branches. They are the sponge class with the highest diversity of spicule and body forms, and many live in shallow water and tropical and subtropical regions. They do have the poorest fossil record out of the subtypes we're talking about, and do not preserve well. They're viviparous, meaning they brood their young inside their body wall rather than leaving them on the ocean to settle on their own. And common species include Leucoselena, Sycon, and Grantia sponges. The second is glass sponges, which are found in deep, cold water. They have a glass-like skeletal structure, and they're found along British Columbia's northern coast. Their skeleton contains glass-like structural particles of silica to make up the spicules. Their skeletons and chemicals provide defense against predators, and they are prey of starfish. And other animals live inside of their skeletons. They live attached to hard surfaces, generally rocks, and they consume small bacteria and plankton from surrounding waters through using currents to filter feed. The most famous species is the Venus flower basket. In this species, the skeleton traps a certain type of crustacean inside of the skeleton. These crustaceans then breed, have offspring, and the offsprings are small enough to escape, but the originally caught crustaceans live inside the skeleton for the rest of their lives, and those crustaceans are able to feed off the waste of the glass sponge skeleton. And then other common species include the glass rope sponge and the hexatinellid sponge. The last subgroup is the fibrous sponges. These make about 90% of the sponge species, and this is what you usually would think of when you think of a sponge. They have silicous spincules or sponge and skeleton, or even sometimes both, and their spicules can vary in shape, size, and composition, while their spongin provides flexibility and support. Again, they come in various shapes, sizes, and colors, and they're found in both saltwater and freshwater habitats, as well as in deep and shallow water. They provide habitats, shelter, and food sources for a range of marine organisms, and they contribute to nutrient cycling and water quality maintenance within their ecosystems. There are several orders, families, genre, and species within this sponge type, and common species include Calthrina coraceae, Tethya arentium, and Subertes domnuclea. Then there are a few interesting topics that I wanted to discuss about sponges. The first is their regenerative abilities. If fragmented or damaged, sponges can often regenerate into new individuals. This is studied by scientists studying tissue regeneration and developmental biology. Next is their reproduction. Sponges can reproduce both asexually and sexually. Their asexual reproduction happens through fragmentation, as a piece of the sponge can break off and regenerate into a new sponge, and through sexual reproduction, where they release sperm and egg into the water to occur externally. These two traits combined have made scientists wonder, could sponges be immortal? The oldest proven sponge has been up to 15,000 years old due to their very slow growth rate and their very few predators as a species. Through asexual reproduction and through fragmentation, the same sponge can continuously reproduce a new individual sponge that is the exact same as the original sponge. Um, but at this point in time, they are not biologically immortal. But with evolutionary advancements and scientific achievements, there is potential for them to live longer in the future. Finally, humans have used sponges for a variety of purposes over time. They're frequently been used for bathing, cleaning, and other purposes. But over the years, they have been replaced by synthetic sponges, such as the kitchen sponges shown in the picture. But a lot of our cleaning tools are made because sponges were used in the past, such as loofahs, toothbrushes, toilet brushes, and any other cleaning tools like that. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and here are our sources.